Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Monday, September 15th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Washington game in 12 days, the game against Michigan in 75 days. If you're planning your next event, make it unforgettable with Grateful Griddle, Columbus's favorite food truck, serving up smashburgers, gourmet sandwiches, and good vibes. Book your catering today at gratefulgriddleoh.com. We are at the point in the Ohio State football season where it seems like a very logical time to sort of take a little bit of a step back and take a little bit of a look back at the first three games, and then maybe a little bit of a look forward in terms of what it might mean for the rest of the season. The Buckeyes, of course, number one, just wrapped up their non-conference portion of the schedule, 3-0, with wins over Texas and Grambling and Ohio in three very different football games. And then now you also have a week off to sort of let everyone heal up a little bit, sort of figure out where maybe things went well, maybe where things didn't go well, and then figure out what you need to do moving forward before you do hop on an airplane and fly out to Washington. So we're going to be talking about three things on the Ohio State offense that have been sort of pleasant surprises from the first three games. Probably not a surprise. My guest today is Tony Gerdeman of BuckeyeHuddle.com. Tony, I think the first thing that I had on my list is Julian Sayin and the play of Julian Sayin, because I think we have known since he was a recruit and since he was, a transfer to Ohio State, very talented quarterback, but a young quarterback, first-time starter quarterback, you always wonder, how is this going to translate to the field? What's it really going to look like on the field when the lights are on and the stands are full? To me, the first three games for Julian Sayin have been above the outcome that I had sort of expected coming into the season.
Yeah, and it started right away, even watching that Texas game where he never was rattled. He looked completely in control. And you contrast that with the first three fall camp practices that we saw where, so especially the first one where you're like, this is not the Julian Sayin that I was promised. And he knew what was certainly not as pinpoint accurate as we've come to know him to be. And just that level of precision has been impressive. Now he's got two, back-to-back 300-yard passing games. Could be a guy that could throw for, back-to-back 300-yard passing games for the first time since C.J. Stroud. Tom, in 2021, he did not even do it in 2022, I believe. So it could be some rarefied air just already in his fourth career start. But yeah, he's number 2 in the nation in completion percentage. He's number 3 in passer rating. He's number 3 in yards per attempt. And that includes the fact that they played Texas and that he played one half of ball against Grambling. And so there's a lot to like. And I think Buckeye fans have bought in already. Like, they're sold. The deep ball has been better than it was at this point last year. There's been what is the big question? Is it just like the red zone offense? And as Ryan Day said after the Ohio game, it's like, well, that was just the throw was a little off here, the throw was a little off there. No big worries just yet, but like that's been the only downside. And the 2 interceptions, the one was a bad one against Ohio. The second one, I still contend, was a fumble. But these are all good learning lessons for him, so he won't be necessarily as, I don't know, maybe greedy would be the phrase I would use these last couple of games.
Well, you and I have also recorded the Michigan Monday podcast, and a lot of the stuff that we talked about with Bryce Underwood applies to Julian Sayin. They're kind of different players, and Underwood's a little bit more active with his legs, but you can tell watching, these are both guys who have always been the best player on every field they've ever been on. So now you're adjusting to, everyone else here is also good at football right now. And that's a little bit of an adjustment. And Sayin has had an extra year on a college campus. So that's a little bit of an advantage for him. And he's obviously a little bit ahead of Underwood as a result of that. But you do see, not identical players, but two, similar players in some ways kind of working themselves through the same kind of learning process. And I think we have urged some caution with Underwood and, the fact that, hey, it's not going to be a absolutely smooth line, the Stonks line straight up to the star, it's not going to go straight to the moon immediately. That's not how a quarterback development works. And there will undoubtedly be some rough patches at some point for Julian Sayin this year. But so far, I think the floor is significantly higher for him than I would have said a month or so ago, or a month or two back. So another guy that I think has been a very pleasant surprise. And I'm sure right now everyone's going, talk about Bo Jackson. Yeah, we get it. We know. We were there. We were also there. We saw. We all saw the last two games for Bo Jackson. So Tony, talk about Bo Jackson.
Well, you're talking about a guy who, against Ohio State's two worst opponents, 9 carries in each game, 217 yards total. He's third on the team in carries right now, but he has 66 yards more on the ground than C.J. Donaldson, who is second. And Tom, you might be pleased to know this. After the game, or no, during the game, during the Ohio game, I tweeted that Bo Jackson can play in one more regular season game before Ohio State has to decide if they're going to redshirt him. And as you can imagine, the people who didn't understand the joke were letting me know how much of an idiot I was. And what they forgot to tell me is that Bo Jackson didn't even play against Texas. So he's actually got 2 more games before Ohio State head coach Ryan Day has to decide, do we want to redshirt this guy? And so we'll see how these next 2 games go and see what they decide then. But yeah, we've talked about how when Ryan Day talks about players, like you can tell when he's really sees something, and then he has to dial back what he's saying because he doesn't want to spill the beans too much. That's kind of how he was against Ohio, or afterwards against Ohio. But it's everybody that sees it sees him stand out, and he gets to the hole quick, and then he can go the distance, and he runs hard. Showed this week that he can catch the ball as well. So yeah, definitely a lot to like there, and we'll see how it goes moving forward when he starts playing on the road and how he handles that.
The e-brake in your car, Ryan Day, you can tell when Ryan Day is driving with the e-brake on. Just, it's driving, but it is holding him back a little bit. The E in this case stands for enthusiasm, in case you did not know. So, and also, man, I did not see that tweet on Saturday night, but man, that is a Tony Gerdeman special right there. And that right there is the difference between the dumbest kind of person online and the smartest person online. The dumbest person online doesn't get the sarcasm and tells you that you're an idiot for posting it. The smartest person online does get the sarcasm and tells you you're an idiot because he has 2 games left, not 1. What are you, stupid? That's the move, kids. That is the tweet. Work, be better, do better. All right. So someone else who has been doing better is Phillip Daniels. He was someone that came from Minnesota, and coming in the spring, you had done a breakdown of where he was with the Gophers last year, and he had played and, started 4 games and was okay, but not amazing. And I think the consensus coming into the spring was, yeah, he's going to be probably someone who you work a year and then you start in 2026. And then you kept hearing about Phillip Daniels all through camp and through summer and through fall. And it was like, he's going to start, isn't he? And he hasn't just started. He's been really solid through 3 games.
Yeah, he has. And he's not been the issue on the offensive line. He's brought a level of toughness, not that they weren't before, but he wants the smoke. He likes that sort of stuff. And he's been physical. He's been solid. Like, the first sacks of the season came this past weekend against Ohio, and he was much more than I thought he was going to be this year. And maybe I'm alone in that, Tom. Maybe I was the only person who didn't see this happening, because we all just penciled in Ethan Naunianwa, and then maybe after spring went over that with ink, perhaps, and then by the second week of fall camp, it's like, well, actually, you got Phillip Daniels in there, and he's doing really well, and people really like him, and you keep hearing more and more about him. Because there was a time where I was convinced Ian Moore was in the 3rd tackle, and actually now he is. But that's because Ethan Anianwa is at guard pretty much now, and we saw Ian Moore go in and play some right tackle against Ohio when Phillip Daniels had to come out early in that game. But he's just been a really pleasant surprise, and a guy who has 2 more years after this, and isn't necessarily the profile of the goes pro early kind of guy, but maybe he'll get there.
Yeah, as a right tackle with NIL now, you can probably make a fairly comfortable living for another year or 2 in Columbus, and he certainly seems to enjoy playing for Ohio State. He's talked about the fact that, as a Cincinnati kid, that was something that he was looking forward to doing. And so, yeah, now to getting that opportunity a little earlier than expected. So there you go. 3 things that are sort of pleasant surprises early in the 2025 season for the Ohio State Buckeyes on offense. We'll talk about the defense on another show later this week, because there's been plenty of pleasant surprises there as well. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff this week at BuckeyeHuddle.com. There's a lot to talk about as the Buckeyes head out of that non-conference schedule and into Big Ten play, getting ready to make their first trip out to Seattle since 2007. We're looking forward to that one very much. Should be a lot of fun stuff to do out there, and it's supposed to be promised one of the prettiest settings in college football. So we will be there for all of that on the shores of Lake Washington at Husky Stadium, a little over a week from now. So join us at BuckeyeHuddle.com, where we have our whole team of experts covering the Buckeyes, covering recruiting, covering X's and O's, as well as a really fun and active community, the Huddle Board, presented by Jeff Ruby's Columbus. And it's all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We hope to see you there. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We will talk to you tomorrow.